Yo, hello, hi, what's up? So last video was a little bit of an overview of what we went over, also on how to create a component. So components are very complicated and you're going to be using them a lot. And you're going to be using them a lot when you're making your game. Explaining everything a component does, it's way too extensive. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm going to show you different things that you can do within the component. First thing we're going to do within this component is going to be a very simple thing. So this video is going to be about properties. So properties are pretty much variables. If you know what those are, they store data, which you can then in the future access, and you can access it from different places. So there's a bunch of different types of properties. There's your regular number property. You know, you can have 0.21 if you want. Then there's another one, which would be integer, which would just be your solid numbers. So you can have like 1, but you can't have 1.2 because integers can't have decimal points. They're just whole numbers. String, so I can just name it itself. I can just have this store new value 3 in it if I wanted to. So it will store text which you can access in the future. You have any, which is weird because it can be anything. You're not going to want to use these too much. There are many different reasons why you might want to use any, but I wouldn't use that too much. I would try to stay away from it as much as possible. You got your true and your false, your boolean. So this is just either 1 or 0. All it stores is true or false or 1 and 0, which is also very useful. You have your table, pretty much an array. It's also a dictionary. It's a bunch of different things. If you watch the video Lua in 100, you know more about tables. This is still new to me. And then these are also different type of tables which will allow you to do things like make your dictionaries and whatnot. And I think sync tables are going to determine whether it syncs. And I'll go over this real quick. What syncing is just syncing to the server, because by default, all your maps that you make are going to be online games. And I'm pretty sure you cannot make a fully offline game. I'm not too sure of that yet. I'll look into it, and in a future video, if it comes up again, I'll mention it. But so your game is going to can be a single player game, but it's still going to be online because it still needs to access the servers, and the servers are going to be storing certain data which can then be accessed by the player. This is also really useful even if your game is single player, because then if your player is playing on a phone instead of on their PC, their save will still be there. Then you have your vector numbers. So these store 2 different numbers, and these will be 2 numbers, not integers, so they don't have to be whole numbers. These go all the way up to vector 4. And one thing you're going to know about is vector 2 and vector 3. I don't know too much about vector 4, but vector 2 and 3 are usually used to store location data. For example, if you go to this transform, these right here, position and world position and scale, those are vector 3s. The amount of vectors just determines that the different amount of numbers it stores in one variable. So X, Y, and Z. And that's how you would access it in code as well, is the first one's X, the next one is Y. Then you have your color, which once again, the color is a vector 4. That's mostly what it's used for. If you ever wanted to recolor certain things, you have your entities. This component is an entity. All components are entities, so it's really useful to know. Then there's components. Components are entities, and you can have this be specific components. If you want this to, for example, store a specific rigid body, you can make it store a specific rigid body instead of being any component, which is really useful if, for example, you want to change a player's location. You have entity reference. I'm pretty sure it's just a reference to the entity, and then component reference. Probably reference means that you reference it. You can only read it. You can't write to it. And then you got your component reference, and that's everything, really. Thank you for watching the video. I'm gonna have to sit down after this. You guys have a good day. Bye.